Hello and welcome. This is Michelle with Artful Possibilities, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint my gnome girl step by step. I'm going to be using a 9x12 canvas, and you will need a pencil with an eraser, a flat brush about 1/2 inch, number 6 round is my favorite, and a number 2 script liner, which you can tell has been used quite a bit, but it's still a beautiful brush and one of my favorites. You're also going to want to have a paper towel that's been wet in clean water and then scrunched up into like a little pom-pom ball, and just put that aside. For colors, there are a lot of colors in this canvas, and I'm going to call out what I can, and anything that I add as we paint I will put in the description of the video. So use whatever brand you have. I'm using some Liquitex Basics acrylics. And I have a couple of Artist Loft, which also are the same in the tubes. I will be using ultramarine blue, burnt umber, titanium white. And then for the flesh, I use a little bit of crimson and a little bit of orange. It happens to be crimson and then cadmium red light hue for my orange. That's what I use for flesh color. Again, more white. For the yellow, I'm using cadmium yellow medium, and we'll be using some white with that, and some Mars Black, dioxazine purple. And then for the grasses, I'll also be adding Hooker's Green Hue Permanent, Light Green Permanent, and Light Olive Green. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take our pencil and draw a little gnome. I already have a light sketch on my canvas. So about 5.5 inches down on center, you're going to draw a circle for her nose. From that circle, I then come out and draw the hat on each side. And then I come up and I wiggle the line down. I come back up. You can run the hat off the canvas if you want also. Now I'm going to do a little inside of the hat, which we're going to paint darker. And from there, I'm going to do the bottom of her face. And then I'm going to create braids. So from the nose, I'm going to swoop down. From the hat, I'm going to swoop down. And these indentations are where we're going to put the little ribbons. And we're going to make these football shapes. I'm going to end it there because the bottom's going to be the fringy area. We're going to do the same thing here. Draw from the nose down, from the hat down, and then make these little football shapes. Okay. Now we're going to come down from almost where the braid indents here, a little above. We're just going to come down, create a sleeve. Same from this side, come down, you can curve it a little, create a sleeve, a dress, and let's make some little hands. So I do like a little thumb and then some hands, and she's going to be carrying flowers. There we go, shoes. All right. She's drawn. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start painting our background, and I'm going to wet my brush, touch it on my paper towel, and I'm going to be using ultramarine blue and white and a tiny bit of burnt umber. Just a tiny, tiny bit. It can take over very quickly, so you don't want to make it too dark. Okay, so we're going to start applying the paint. I'm going to go around the gnome's hat. So this little gnome is a girl gnome that matches the boy gnome that was uploaded in the last video. So I'm going to be painting her to match. She'll have opposite coloring. he had a purple hat with yellow. She's going to have a yellow hat with purple, etc. So while that's wet, I'm going to take this paper towel and I'm just going to pounce, pounce, pounce. Now if you want to leave the sky darker, just let it dry a little bit before you pounce it. I'm just going to go around the entire painting. Keep mixing ultramarine blue and white, a tiny bit of burnt umber, just to kind of dull that brightness just a little bit. And let's get around this gnome, around the hand. And I just swish the background. It's like my brush stroke is like the letter X overlapped over and over again. Now you don't really have to go all the way down to the bottom because we're going to put some grass there, but you can. And just pounce a little bit, get a little bit of texture in there. Okay. So we're going to continue and get the other side done. Tiny, tiny bit of brown in there. Wet my brush. Whenever I wet my brush, I always touch it to my paper towel, unless I want to intentionally water down some paint. Okay, so let's get that paper towel out there. It's okay to leave it a little darker near the gnome if you'd like. Just kind of play with that and get a design or an effect that you like. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and get this finished up for you. Make that line a little jagged where the grass is also. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take that same paper towel and I'm going to create some clouds by just putting my index finger into the towel, and I'm just going to come in and rub out some cloud area. So I'm just kind of swirling, and if you want it brighter, just go to a clean area of the towel and come in . All right. Okay. And maybe just a little right here. I do like some designs to run off the canvas like that. Okay, so I'm really happy with that. There's a couple of spots. I'm going to grab my round brush and pull it over my towel right around here. I just need to get a little bit closer to the hand there. Okay. All right, very good. So we're going to go right ahead to the skin now. Now you can create a skin tone, any kind of color shade that you'd like, and just kind of have fun with it. But I'm going to take a little bit of my crimson and a little bit of the whatever orange color you're using, and just a tiny bit of burnt umber, and then some titanium white. And what I'm looking for is a flesh color that I will be happy with. I don't want it too orangey, I don't want it too pinky. Alright, so let's try that. I'm gonna go ahead. That's pretty good. I might take a tiny bit more white. I don't want it too bright. And I'm just going to go ahead and paint that in. And then this is her face under the nose. So I'm going to go ahead, leave a little space. I'm leaving a little space between the face and the nose, or at least seeing the pencil line. Now the face, when I dipped in the mix, it's a little bit darker, but I actually like it like that, so I'm going to leave it. I have to mix a little bit more. Now you can use a flesh color, a ready-made flesh color that you like. Everyone, I think, has their favorites. So do what you'd like for that. I like to mix. So I'm going to go ahead and get these little hands painted in. And we will be coming in with some shading and some highlighting. I'm going to go ahead and get this hand done, thumb. Now we will be putting flowers in her hands, but I would rather not draw them and paint the background around them. I would rather just put them on top of the background. Okay, so that's a good base coat. Let's get this a little bit more tucked into those corners. Okay, I'm going to rinse that brush. Alright, I'm going to take a little bit of that cadmium yellow medium, and in this little triangle that's been created, that's the inside, the back inside of the hat that you're seeing there. So we're going to get that painted in. Alright. So now we're going to go ahead and make a gray, and we're going to paint her braids in gray. I'm going to go back to my flat brush. Take some white, a little bit of black, and create a gray. Now you can make your gnome's hair color any color you'd like. I'm going to go with gray. I want her to match the other gnome that I did. And he has a gray beard with lots of white in it. So I'm going to make her hair, hopefully, we'll like her in gray when we're all done. And your edges don't have to be perfect because some of the hairs are going to come out and extend the braid. You'll see what I mean when we get there. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this base coated. She's so cute. I can't wait to get her done. So this is my third gnome in my gnome series, and there are many more to come. They've already been sketched out. And they really are just so much fun. I know it brings me a lot of joy to paint these little critters. Turn this around. And I've mentioned in other videos that I do tend to turn my canvas around in different directions. It just makes it easier for your hand to come in from a certain angle, depending if you're right-handed, right-hand dominant, left-hand dominant. So just spin it around however you'd like. Alright, so I'm going to base coat the hat. And I'm going to take that cadmium yellow again and white. I want it to be a lot lighter, especially in the middle of the hat. Whoops, I got it right in the nose. Hopefully the nose is dry enough. There. Okay, so I'm just going to go like up the center of the hat and stay off the edges right now. So there we go. I'm going to grab a little more white, make it even lighter. And now I'm going to take the yellow and I'm going to get the brighter yellow. It's just the cad yellow without the white. I'm going to get that on the edges. Now if your sky is wet, you might want to blow dry it because blue and yellow make green. And if your sky is wet and you start adding the yellow, you're going to end up with some green where the colors meet. Just going to grab some more white. I'm going to add more and more white to the middle of that hat as we develop this design. Okay, so let's get some more yellow. And I'm just taking the darker, the yellow, and I'm placing it along the outer edge of the hat. And then just kind of blending onto the hat. So when I say blend, what I mean is I just kind of rub the two colors together. And usually, like in a case like this, I don't want to see exactly where the darker color ended and the lighter color begins. So I blend. I'm going to put the darker yellow here, all along the bottom of the hat. Get all around the edges. Turn this back around for you. And let's get the top of the hat shaded with the straight yellow. Okay. I'm going to grab some titanium white again with the same brush and just kind of lighten up the middle of that hat. Again, I want to blend where the darker yellow is around the edges. I don't want to have a stripe where I shaded. I do want it to be brighter up the middle though. Whoops, got into a little gray there. Okay, just clean that off the gray. All right, very good. So the decision is going to come in the dress. Do we want it to be yellow? Do we want to break it up with a different color? So while we're thinking about that, I'm going to go ahead and paint her shoes black. Now I choose black, you know, but do whatever fun color choice you have in mind. And I usually, if I have a lot of black in a design like this, I will paint my side edges in black later also. Okay. All right. I'm going to put out a little more white. Okay. Take a little bit of yellow plus white, and I'm going to go ahead and start painting her dress. But I want it, again, to be super light down the middle and down in through here. And then against, and we'll put it out here, against the hair, I'm going to make the yellow darker. Okay. What I want to do is shade it there so that it sets behind the hair. And come in with the darker color. And leave the rest. Same thing here. Then I have to turn it. Come in with the yellow. So I tend to put it just on one corner of the brush, the darker color, and just kind of blend it on. You can use a round brush and paint it in also. It's whatever's most comfortable for you. We're going to make it a little deeper here under her face. Maybe we should name her Sunshine because she's going to be very, very bright and cheery. All right, here we go. Get all around the hair, under the braid. Turn it upside down. And I'm going to come at it from this side and make it darker. Okay. I'm going to grab the round brush now and some titanium white. And I'm going to paint white here at the bottom of the sleeve where it touches the hand. Just kind of blend it a little bit. Same thing on the other arm. Put some white there. Just kind of blend it on the sleeve. Up in here, that's going to be a little bit of the darker color because it's up inside. Alright, now we just have to get the bottom of the dress done. So I'm going to take mostly white on the brush, and I have lots of yellow in there. So it's going to make this nice soft yellow. Turn it sideways. Okay, there we go. Now here in the middle, I want to make it brighter just like I did with the hat. So I'm going to add some white. While my yellow's wet, it blends in nicely. you could make, you know, a flowy kind of rippled edge to the dress if you want. Be creative and have fun. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is go back to the skin tone and make some more of the flesh color, a little bit of brown, lots of white. Okay, because it definitely needs another coat. I'm going to turn it upside down so I can get at that nose. And I'm going to get the bottom of it, and I want to round it out a little bit. Now, while that's nice and wet, I'm going to grab some of the crimson and the orange, and I'm going to just put a little bit of color there on the nose at the bottom. Okay, so let's get some more down on her face. I didn't mix quite enough of that. Just a little bit more of the crimson. I think it's so much fun to mix the skin tone, and I never get the exact color every time I mix it. Okay, so let's take some of the darker mix and come in and put it under the nose. Okay, that's good. So where I colored the nose darker at the bottom, we now have to come in and just put a little bit of lighter color beneath it. And what that's going to do is set that up on top of the rest of the face. Okay. And I do see a little gray showing through, so there'll be some touch-up needed. And same thing with the hands. I want to get another coat on it. Okay, here we go. Round out, if your hands have lost their shape a little bit, just kind of round things out over your background. Okay. I'll round that out and get another layer in here, and then we'll go ahead and we'll shade those little hands. Okay, so while they're wet, I'm just going to grab a little bit of that orange and red and mix it up here. And then I'm going to put some of that darker color where the hands come out of the sleeve. And back on the thumb, and then I'm just going to blend it a little. Now I want the hand to be lighter here where it comes in front of the thumb. So I'm going to add a little white. It's subtle, but it does make a difference. Now here I see some sky showing through, so I'm going to get a little white there. It's a little too wet to touch up there. So same thing on the other hand. Take a little bit of your darker mixture, and you're going to shade where it comes out of the dress. Just a little bit, and against the dress, and then just kind of blend it out. So you're going to just get that done on each side till the intensity of it is to your liking, and I'm just blending it out so there's not a harsh line where the shading is. And then get a little white, come in over here. That's a lot of white. I said a little, but I picked up quite a bit. Alright, so let's just get that blended here. Okay, that will work. And I might even add just a little more on this hand. I'm going to turn it upside down so I can get at that. So I'm adding some titanium on the outside edges of these hands to highlight them. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, let's get a little more titanium white at the very top of the nose. So I just keep going back and building up shading, you know, shadows and highlights to help give dimension. Okay, super cute. She's gonna start coming to life soon. Just got my finger in my paint. All right, so right here I can see some hair showing through, so I have to get more highlight in there. And again, as it dries more, you can go in and add more shadows and highlights. All right. So here you can definitely see where I had hit in the gray before. So I want to cover that a little bit. And also here on some of the edges, you can see some blue coming through the yellow. Yellow's one of those colors that it doesn't really cover other colors very well. So if you add some white, that will help. Okay. Now I want this little part of the hat that's supposed to be the underneath and the inside to be darker. And we could go in and shade it with another color, but what I think I'm going to do is just add some white in here and just kind of blend it out into the hat. I think that will do enough. We might have to come in and add it a couple of times. While you're at it, you can clean up any little edges that aren't as smooth as you'd like them to be. Just kind of blend that out. Rinse my brush. Always watch out for that water that's going to slide down the ferrule if you didn't wipe it. Okay, so I'm going to take some yellow and go in here where I didn't cover the canvas completely. So look for little areas like that and just go back in and get your little brush in there and get those filled in. More white down here. Okay, so then put that down and take a look and see if that's looking the way you'd like. Now, again, where the yellow is and it's touching the hair, we might have to go touch up areas like that, and that's what this process is all about. So we're just going to keep on going around and working in areas that are drier. Okay, so I want this color to get a little closer to my blue. I'm just going to blend out anything there that I want a little lighter. Get some white in here. So I'm going to take my flat brush and put a little more highlight in her dress. So I'm going to grab some white, put it in here, and just kind of blend it. I want the dress to be darker under the braids and lighter out where the rest of it is. So right here I can see a little bit of the shoe showing through too. So if you picked another color besides yellow, you might not have as much touch-up work to do. But the yellow is super pretty. Makes her sunny and bright, and who doesn't need a little bit more sunny brightness? Okay. Just going to blend that up. Okay. Let's take a look. See what you think. I have a little white on my brush, so I'm going to come in and add a little bit more up the middle of this hat. Okay, you know how white just, you know, kind of fades into the background as it dries. Okay, so I see some little bits where the blue needs to be a little bit more solid, where it touches my gnome. There's a little bit over here, so I'm just taking, if that happens, just grab a little tiny bit of that ultramarine blue and just come in with the point of your brush and just lightly touch it in there. Okay. Okay. So while that area is drying a little bit, let's get some grass laid in. So I'm going to take my small flat brush, and I do need to squirt out my greens. So I'm going to use some Hooker's Green Permanent. I love that color mixed with burnt umber. And I'm just going to use a little bit of the light green permanent, which is a pretty bright green. And my favorite, light olive green. Now, you can also, if you're using like a green oxide or something like that, you can add a chrome yellow or a bright yellow to that green and make a really, really nice lime green. So, I believe I have yellow on my hand. No surprise there. I should have called myself the messy painter. So I'm going to take a moment to clean some of that yellow off my hand because I've gone ahead and, you know, gotten it on my canvas. So I'm going to cover that up a little bit. Pounce, pounce, pounce. And I'm okay with it being a little darker there also. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab some of the Hooker's Green. I'm going to take a little bit of burnt umber with it. Make it on the brownish side. And I'm just going to come in and I'm going to hold the brush sideways and just kind of flick, flick, flick. Now I have to go over the shoe, but I just noticed it's pretty wet right there. So I don't want to mess with that at the moment without turning on the blow dryer. Go ahead here. I'll do this little spot last because it's wet. Okay, so while that's wet, I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of the brighter green. Just come in and throw some of that in there. You can turn your brush different ways so you get a little bit of a different look to your stroke. And don't be afraid to make some of the grasses go a little bit higher. Make them turn, crisscross a little. It looks more natural. Now I wouldn't imagine that a little gnome would be standing in grasses that had just been mowed by the lawnmower, so we definitely want to make them look a little disheveled, a little uneven. So right here I have a white spot to touch up near that shoe right there also. Okay, so let's go get some more in there. I'm wiping my brush because it's getting too wide on the chisel edge and I'm getting a wider blade of grass than I want. So every time I add a color, I leave a little bit of the other color under it showing. I'm mixing a little of the olive with some white now. We can come back in as this dries if you want to and just keep adding. I'm going to grab a little bit of the cad yellow and kind of mix it with the green. Okay, I went over that black shoe, so I got a little black in there with that. Okay. That's okay though. Alright. So I think I'm going to call that done. I like that. I'm going to rinse this brush. Okay. I'm going to grab a little bit of ultramarine and fix this little spot right here. Okay. She's super cute. So if you have graphite lines showing, once you have paint over them, they're not going to erase. So what you can do is just take some paint. You know, you might want to add just a little bit of white to that paint also, and just go back and make those edges a little more crisp. Okay, like right in through here, I can see some pencil. You can also outline your designs with a permanent marker if you like that look. I do that sometimes. Honestly, once it's all painted, I think that the pencil lines just kind of fade to the background. I don't think that you really notice them unless you're looking for them. So, there we go. That's why I try to put my design on with a light touch. I'm just going to touch up in through here a little bit. Try to get that pencil graphite line covered a little bit better. There we go. Okay. I often say we could just go on and on with going around and tweaking. So that's some things you can do also after the tutorial is done. Come back in around your edges and touch up any areas that you want. Okay. Okay. So let's work on her hair. So we haven't done hair before on a gnome. We've done the beards on the boys, but we haven't done hair. Just want to add some white there. Okay, so I'm going to make a gray. Just going to kind of use what was there before, if I can. It's drying, so I'm going to get a little black, a little white, and make a light gray. And what I want to do is, if you imagined if you had the hair and you pulled it down into a rubber band, how that hair would fall. So in the middle, I'm going to make the hairs kind of straight, and then as I come around, I'm going to curve them. I'm going to grab more white, and we're going to keep coming in and adding white just like we do on the beards. And I do want to leave the hair darker where it comes out of the hat. That's intentional. Okay, and we're going to come in. Same thing here. I'm going to wet my brush. I'm going to go outside of it also. Okay, so as I come back in and we add more hair, we are going to extend that gray base a little bit. Okay, cute, 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 cute. I'm going to let that dry for a moment. I'm going to flip this upside down and go back in and get some titanium white and maybe the slightest touch of the skin tone. I'm going to come back in and put some more in here because I have some pencil lines showing. I'm going to rinse my brush. And soften that a little bit. Okay. Okay. I want to tip the thumbs a little bit too. Now I'm picking up, I have to flip this paper towel. I'm picking up a lot of the green color from my paper towel. And it's ending up on my gnome's skin. Alright. So we're going to let that hair dry just a little, and we're going to start working on her flowers. So what I envision is several flowers over here, and they're going to be purple, and then a rose over here. So let's start by putting in the little centers of the Brown-Eyed Susans, or whatever we want to call them. So I'm going to draw some shapes here. Those are the centers, okay? So I'm going to take some burnt umber, and I'm just going to paint those in. So they almost look like a little gumdrop. Or if you hold the canvas sideways, they almost look like a uppercase D. Straight at the bottom and then curved. Straight at the bottom and then curved. And those are going to be the centers of these little flowers. On this side, I want to have a rose. And I would imagine that to be, let's see, I want the stem to come out of her hand here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rose somewhere around here. And did I mention quinacridone magenta? I do not think I did. So I just need a tiny drop of that on my palette. And when you mix this with titanium white, it is so luscious looking. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. Okay. So I'm going to base that rose with some titanium white plus quinacridone magenta. And I'm just going to base coat it. I want a little more magenta than that. So just get a circle, and it can be a bumpy circle too. It's going to be a rose, so it's however you want it. Okay, pretty, pretty color. Love it. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm going to come back over here, and these flowers I'm going to make out of some purple because I want her to match the little guy. So I have some dioxazine purple or violet, and I'm going to take some of that color, put it here on my palette, and I'm going to grab just a little bit of white. And make a nice rich purple. Now I add white because the purple alone isn't going to be very opaque, and I want it to cover. So I'm going to make all the little petals. I'm going to zoom in on that for you a little bit. Okay, so what I'm going to do is turn this, and I'm going to make the petals at the bottom of these flowers. So I'm just going to press, pull, lift, press, pull, lift. And I'm angling them toward that center. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with the others. And some of them might overlap a little bit, and that's okay. Okay. I'll zoom back out on that. Alrighty. We're going to have to let that dry a little bit. I want this a little bit darker. Okay, now I'm going to take the script liner, put some water on my palette. I'm going to grab some green. I need a little bit more burnt umber. I love this burnt umber color. It's such a nice rich color. Okay, so I'm going to grab some burnt umber, mix it with the green, A little more green. So that's the Hooker's Green and the Burnt Umber. I'm going to get my liner brush nice and full, and I'm going to create a stem. Now I want the stem to come down into the thumb but stop at the hand because she's holding it and her hand is in front. And then we can extend the stem also if you want to imagine where it would come out here on her dress. You can do that. Okay, so same thing on the other side. I'm going to create stems that come down. I'm going to stop at these petals and go through. Okay, and then come down and envision where they would come out. Okay. Now with the rose, I want to have just some leafy greens. So I'm going to continue to add a few more stems. And again, I just have to kind of decide where they come out on the other side. Okay, I'm going to put some more over here. So I added some stems there, and I'll just add a few more pieces at the bottom. Okay. Super cute. So let's get some leaves on there. So I'm going to grab that number 6 round again. I'm just going to use the tip of it, grab some of that green mix, and just come in and make some tiny little leaves. And just pulling. Now I have dribbled some water here and there, so I have to be careful. I recommend always having a blow dryer handy. And put some under the rose also, and okay, that will do. Some more leaves. And I'm going to grab some of that light olive also and add some leaves with that color. So my brush is dirty and it has some of the darker green in it, and I'm just coming back in with some of the light olive on top of that green and just creating a cute little bouquet. Over here, same thing. Let's get some of that lighter green in there. And you know, I think I want to get some stems out above that rose. So let's tip this. It'd be better if I turn it upside down. And then I can just come in and imagine where I would have some of these grasses coming through the rose. Okay, and then I'm going to add just some little leaves up in here too. Okay, super cute. All right, I'm going to grab a little bit of that yellow that's on my palette while I have green on my brush, and I'm just going to come in and highlight some of those lighter leaves with a little bit of that cad yellow mixed in with the olive green. While I'm at it, if I want to come in, I can put a little bit lighter blades of grass with that color as well. Okay, so I definitely want to highlight some of the leaves by the rose. So I'm going to come in with some of that yellow on top of the green. While it's wet, it's going to blend in nicely. Now you could grab just a tiny bit of that titanium white also and come in and add some brightness to the leaves, just a little bit. Now I want to add some stems for these little leaves that are sticking out. Now, you don't always have to. It's whimsy. You can just leave some random leaves out there. Okay, so I'm going to just keep playing here and adding. All right. I could go on and on with that. I love that. Okay. I'm going to let that area dry a little bit and we'll come back and work on her hair. Okay, so let's grab some white and put it in with that gray, but I want it to be a lot lighter. And I'm just going to come in and pull some more hair. So what I want is a little more paint on the brush and a light touch. So I'm just kind of skimming the canvas. And I'll come in with some straight white. And I might change to the liner brush for that. Okay, so let's get some. I need a little bit of water in my brush. All right. Let's get some hairs just a little bit closer to the hat. Put some smaller hairs in there. Okay. She's so cute. Okay, my liner brush. Here it is. So I'm going to take the liner, grab some titanium white, so I'm in that light gray puddle. Alright, so I'm going to come back in here with some lighter hairs. More paint, lighter touch. Let some of them stick outside a little bit. Stick outside that solid area. Okay. It would look cute if you added a little bit of purple in the hair also. So I just keep reloading and coming back and just make some more hair strokes. I'm going to make some more solid lines on the outside of the braid. Okay, so I really like that. I want to make it brighter though. More white. Okay, come up in here. So keep stroking some little hairs in there. You can come in with darker, lighter. Now, if you were using a different color hair, red, brown, whatever, you just need a darker tone for the base and then lighter colors to come in and create your highlights as you go. And I do want it darker where the little ribbon is going to go because that's where the hair is clumped together. So we do want to leave that darker there where I have left it darker. Okay, so see how this side is brighter? And we're going to come in and add more white to this side also. So get that liner brush watered down a little bit and get a nice full load. Let's come in Just keep going till you get a look that you like. Now it's important to leave that dark color showing through. Even if you build up with lots of white, you don't want to cover all that gray. You can make it brighter and cover some of it, but you need that gray in that background to create that dimension. Okay, if you leave it solid white or whatever color you're painting the hair, you're going to have to go in and put some shadows in unless you want it to look flat. So, okay, let's get some more of that gray now. Down here, we're just going to have some hairs. That's like the end of the hair. So we're going to go ahead and just build up some of that. And it can come down to the shoes. And I'm just going to keep working back between the gray and the white. Now the dress is going to show through on this because this is the end of the hair and you have some little fringes. Okay. Same thing here. We're just going to create the end of the hair. And that, as these dry, we can come in and add more and more white, or whatever color you're using. Okay, super cute. Okay, I believe that rose is dry, so we're gonna jump back over there. And I'm gonna flip her upside down, and what I'm gonna do is shade the rose. So I'm gonna take some quinacridone magenta on the base of my brush, on the corner, I mean, and put it on the base of the rose. And just blend like that. Then I'm gonna come up and create like the bowl of the rose. Again, we're gonna keep these roses super simple. Okay, and where I went out of the line, I'm just going to clean that up with my other brush. Flip that around and take a look. Yep, that's just what I was going for. Okay, we're going to come back to the little flowers here, and at the base of these centers, I'm going to put just a tiny bit of black. And at the top, let's grab just a little of that cad yellow and just kind of pat it on there. All right, good. Now the purple petals, we can come in and take just the purple and go back over them a little bit, or, you know, and then come back and add white, or you can add white right now. Here, let me grab a little white with the purple and show you what that does. So you can add a little bit of that. We just want them to be solid so you can't see the sky through the petals. I like some a little lighter and some a little darker. We can come in and just kind of tap our brush a little bit at the bottom where there's a space. All right. Okay, those are cute. Let me clean that up a little. Too much water. Grab that paper towel and just kind of put it down and blot. Okay, I'm going to leave it light like that. Okay, so we're going to take some white and just go ahead and make the little ribbon ties here. And then we'll come back with some purple. So I'm just making little horizontal lines of white right where we're going to put ribbons, where her braids are tied. Okay. Get your brush in a little quinacridone magenta, add a little bit of white. Just keep adding. I want a lot of white here. And I'm just going to come in and put some white up at the top of the rose a little bit, down under that throat of the rose, and then outside just a little bit like that. I'm going to take some white and kind of extend that a little bit and let it come out beyond the base. So this is so simple. We're just keeping this really, really easy. Okay, so she has a rose, and she has some little violet colored flowers, little fantasy flowers. Let's get some green on in the front of that rose just a bit. So I'm going to grab whatever's left on my palette here, mix my greens, and just come in and let some leaves go up on that rose like that. Grab a little white and just kind of highlight. Okay. Now you could add a couple little leaves down in the stems too, but keep them small and delicate. Okay. And on this one, I think I'll leave that one alone. Okay, so I need to clean the nose up a little bit, and you might too. So what I'm going to do is just, you know, kind of revive some of that face color. Add some white. And just come in like here. I have a little bit of gray showing through the nose, and I don't want that. So you can also just grab a little, not magenta, we don't want magenta in there. Well, I don't anyway. I do want to put a little bit of blush on that nose, so there's just a tiny bit of the pinkish color. Alright, and wherever you might see some pencil lines showing through, go ahead and touch up. So you can keep on doing that. And as this dries and you want to come in and refine it. But we want to add the purple to her hat. So we're going to go ahead and take some of that dioxazine purple and some titanium white. I'm going to make a puddle. Here, let's do it right here. So to make polka dots, I need kind of like a little puddle of paint. Alright, I'm going to use the handle of my liner, and I'm going to dip in some of this purple, and I'm just going to make some polka dots on her hat. I just try to spread them out. Oops. You do need to have like a nice little puddle. And sometimes when you're mixing color, you have to mix a little more than you'd like to create a puddle. Here we go. I'm not getting quite enough on the base of that brush, so I have to go back and add more. Let me wipe it off and try again. Okay, so sometimes if you get enough on, you can get a couple of dips out of one. Okay. Alright. So for her dress, if you wanted to go ahead and add something to give it a little bit more interest, we could put polka dots on that too. But I think what I'm going to do is on the sleeves, I'm just going to add a little bit of like a plaid trim. So I'm just going to get into that purple with my liner brush, and I'm going to turn her sideways. And I'm just going to come in down here, and I'm going to make 2 lines, making a stripe. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just going to make 2 stripes right near the edge of the sleeve. Give it a little interest. Okay. You could do that along the bottom of the dress also. So even though we have hair there, you know, you could, but you're going to have to go all around the hairs and everything. So if you wanted a stripe in there, I would put that on before you finish the hair. You could also come in and do some polka dots. So let's just do this. Again, I make my decisions as I'm painting it for you. So you hear me thinking out loud. Here we go. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Get that down under the hair. And just kind of make like a picot trim. Picot lace, sort of. And there's a lot of ways you can do that. All right, I'm going to use my pencil and some of those purple colors. And I'm going to come in and just dot some little dots and give her like a little lacy effect. So this is a pretty fancy gnome girl. She's out in the garden, and someone has sewn her a wonderful little dress with lace trim. She's a fancy gnome. Okay, I like that. I'm dipping in like white and purple mixed and just letting the colors kind of play there. Almost done. If you're not careful with your dots and you don't come up all the way, you can end up with some of them connected. Like these two right here got connected. So I'll just come in with a little brush with black later and touch that up. Okay, she's super cute. You could take that lace and add it to the bottom of the sleeves and the bottom of the hat, and you could just keep on going with that. So what we want to do now is just add some purple to those ribbons. So I'm going to just get my number 6 brush and get into that purple mix that I have. And I'm going to, I think I want it a little bit darker. Just going to stroke that color. The white is still pretty wet there. But I like it because it's just kind of blending in. Now you could add bows. I don't want to. I'm not going to add bows in here. But you know, you can always just keep going and going. Now what I want to do though is get some of that white in the hair a little bit closer to the hat. Just a little bit there. I want a shadow up in there, but I don't want it to look like she has a different color hair up in there. So I'm just taking little tiny bits of white and letting that gray show through. Just adding a little bit more up in there. Okay. The other thing I'd like to do is just add a little bit of shading in that hair. So I'm going to take a moment to go ahead and blow dry it, and then I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so just like in the Gnome Boy's beard, I usually go back in and add a little bit of dark gray or slightly black shading. So I'm going to take my flat brush, it's clean, it's wet, it's wiped on my towel, and I'm just going to grab the smallest bit of black and blend it here on my palette. And I'm going to put it close to the ribbon. I'm going to put the dark color by the ribbon and the clean part of the brush on the braid. Do it here. And then, again, up here under the hat. Okay, a little bit at a time. Go on this side. This is just a light shadow, so it lets the white beneath it show. And here we're going to go under the ribbon, and under the ribbon. Okay, then I'm going to flip her upside down to get at it from the other direction. And we're going to go under the ribbon. Essentially it's on the top, but we have it flipped upside down, so let's get some of that shadow in there. Okay. Keep going. In there. Over the ribbon. Over the ribbon. Okay, so let's turn that back around. So that's given some shadow there. And I'll take just a little bit of white and just kind of put a little bit of highlight inside the ribbon. Now this ribbon didn't come out very dark, so I'm going to come in and just add a little bit more dioxazine there. If it's too light. And then just a tiny bit of white like in the middle. Alright, so let's stand back and take a look. Okay, I almost forgot to add her little flower to the tip of her hat. So let's go ahead and get that in there. So I put in the brown. Now I'm going to take some of the purple. And I'm going to come in, and I need a little bit more of the brighter purple. And come in and just create my little strokes. Alright. You can come in with just a little bit of white too, and come in and add a little bit of highlight in there. You can blend it in, or you can just leave it bright. It's a whimsical design, so you can just kind of play with that and have fun. I'm going to grab some green and just make a couple of petals. Okay, so let's grab that liner and just put a couple little stems in there. And I'm just going to put a little stem there. Some little tendrils. Okay, so the only other thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of yellow to the tip of that center. So I want to just blend this white out just a little bit more. Yeah, I like that better. And then I'm going to grab some of the cad yellow, and just like we did up down here, just going to add some of that to the tip of that flower. While I'm here, I think I'm going to brighten up. This white just kind of faded in a little bit, so we're just going to get a little bit more there. Alright. Okay, that's good. Okay, our little gnome girl is all done. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to take a quick moment to show you the boy gnome. So they match, and they're a great set. So the boy gnome is already on YouTube. So if it's the upload prior to the little girl. So if you want to make a match set, you might want to watch that. If you enjoyed this tutorial, you could hit the like button and subscribe and turn on notifications if you'd like to see what I post. I post on a weekly basis. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day.